Hey, I'm Dave from Disc Golf Dyers Guild, and welcome to another episode of Dying to Listen podcast. On this episode, I have Ivan from Dyelicious Discs. If you haven't checked out his work, I would recommend pausing the podcast right now and go checking his stuff out. It is some killer work that you need to see. So, welcome, Ivan. I guess the first question I have for you to kick it off is, what got you into disc dyeing?
Well, actually, it was probably about a year ago today. It was fall time. I was playing a red DX Leopard, and I'm from New York, and playing disc golf with a red DX Leopard was very difficult in New York at fall time. To find my disc was just impossible, and I was like, there's got to be a way. I love this disc. I love this disc. There's got to be a way to find this disc easier. What if I just paint it? And so I did. I got home and I had these sponge and I painted it. I actually have it right here on the table. This is the bad boy right here. So I thought I was the greatest guy. So I was like, I'll never lose this again, you know. So I brought it the next round and I showed it to my buddy Gary, and I said, look what I did, you know, I'm never going to lose this disc again. And he goes, did you paint that? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's not PDGA sanctioned. And I'm like, what? And he's like, but you could dye it. And I was like, dye it? That's pretty much when it all began. Started YouTubing videos, finding out, you know, different ways you could dye, and it just blew up from there. My compulsive behavior. What do you say? Your artistic, what you're
Creative
saying?
ADHD, yeah.
Yeah, I have that. So it just took off from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when did you actually start playing disc golf, which I'm assuming was around the same time?
It was like spring that year. So, you know, COVID was hit. I was doing some hiking. My friend said, hey, come on out, play some disc golf. I was playing ball golf like 3 times a week. He got me to play some disc golf, and it just, from there on, I've stepped away from ball golf, and I've played disc golf 3 days a week, and it's just a great addiction.
I've never played ball golf, and I don't know how you compare disc golf to ball golf, but I feel like ball golf, it would be difficult to find the tiny little ball. I have trouble finding a disc. I can't imagine finding a ball.
Yeah, it gets a little difficult, but you got to try to hit it straight, and it's a little easier if you're down the fairway, you know?
So you painted your disc. What was your first disc that you actually dyed?
This one's kind of interesting. My first disc I dyed was a Vibram. So not many dyers dye Vibrams. That's an avenue I didn't realize I was going down, a difficulty I realized I was going down. But it's what I play, and a lot of guys I know play Vibrams. So it was a notch, a Vibram notch. I did a rainbow. I did Floetrol. I did some research. I looked up. First thing I saw was shaving cream, and I was like, oh, that's really messy. I don't want to do mess, you know. So I was trying to keep clean, which little did I know, dyeing and keeping clean don't work together at all. My kitchen is a pure mess right now, stained all over the place. But I was trying to keep clean, so I decided to do Floetrol because that seemed like the cleanest way to go. And I wanted to do a rainbow effect with a drag. I had a design in place. I knew the way I was going to drag it, what colors I was dragging it to, and it actually came out the way I wanted to. I didn't do any silicone. I just did straight Floetrol, and it was pretty exciting from there. The first disc, I pulled it out 24 hours later, no heat. And I saw it, I was wowed, and I just was hooked.
Sounds like you had a successful first dye, which not a lot of dyers have. I've never dyed Vibram, if that's how you pronounce it, discs. How does those take dye?
Well, they're rubber, so I find that they soak in the dye. It depends on the firmness of them. Some of the firmer ones take the dye better, or the float ones take dye better for some reason. Basically, they seem to fade quicker. so they don't hold the dye as well. So I tend to do a lot of stenciling on Vibrams, which is awesome. You know, I'll do a lot of black stenciling and then color it in, knowing that it's going to fade. So I'll do some dark colors, and as it fades, it tends to look pretty cool. So a lot of the Vibrams, like some of the Vibrams I won't touch because they're already art themselves, but the blank Vibrams are what I'll dye. And I ended up getting a following through the Vibram groups on Facebook, and even the founder of Vibram, Steve Dodge, his brother had me dye one of his discs. It was pretty much an honor. I just sent that to him, and he was wowed. So it's pretty cool. It's definitely it's a challenge, but it's a lot of fun.
I was going to say, I feel like that type of plastic would fade fast, which I was correct that it does. It's also interesting that you think of that fade when you dye your discs, because I like the nice crisp line. I like to make sure they stay that way forever, which they don't. But you incorporate the fade into the design, which is fascinating.
Yeah, you got to try to think ahead, you know.
What dye do you use to dye your discs?
Well, here's my little plug. I'm a Prochem wholesaler, so I use straight up Prochem for all my dyeing. You know, I mix it so many different ways between denatured, hot dips, you know, Floetrol. I don't do glue beds at all. I haven't even dabbled in that at all. Something I probably will. I always, again, thought that might be messy, but it doesn't seem to be the videos I watch.
Everything can be fairly clean. So I use plastic cling wrap, or press and seal on the cake pans. So instead of, cleaning it out, I just take it out and throw it away. So I have literally no mess.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. That's good to know.
What dye methods have you tried?
I do Floetrol. I'll do silicone with Floetrol. I'll do lotions. I love lotions. The newest thing I've been doing is the denatured mixes. I've been doing a lot of gradients, which I've been loving. I do a lot of denatured with that. I moved away from the acetone because it seemed like the acetone was more direct, very immediate. So as soon as you put on the disc, there's no really much correcting it. Whereas the denatured is more, you can do shading. But also from Happy Little Accidents, I watched a video of his and found out about alcohol and being able to rub afterwards and taking some of the dye off and actually helping the gradient. And that's been magical. I've just really enjoyed doing that. And that's the other thing about dyeing is the relationships you build with people. And, people are open up, they talk about their techniques. Just because techniques are opened up, everybody has their own kind of style. So even though you might, know how to use silicone, or you might know how to drag, or you might know how to do stenciling, everybody does something different. And that's what's so awesome about this community and the dyers out there.
Yeah, I agree that the disc dyeing community is a unique, special, fun, and open one. And it's fun to be part of. And I am learning so much even doing this and making new connections. So that's great. Can you explain a little bit of your process for the gradient dyes that you do with the denatured alcohol? I feel like I saw some where half the disc was colored, then it gradiates into either another color or the color of the discs. I'm very curious on how you do that.
Yeah, so I think it worked out where I dabbled in just really two basic colors, Radical Red and Caribbean Blue, both magical colors, something I've been loving. And I really basically tried to take the disc and keep the bottom, the blue, the Caribbean Blue, and slowly grade it. And what I used was I actually used napkins, and I took my denatured mix, which is straight denatured alcohol and the Caribbean Blue and the denatured and the Radical Red. Put your gloves on first, but dip the napkin into the actual denatured, and I would rub the blue at the bottom, just hard at the very, very bottom. And then I'd slowly wipe it as it gets to the middle. And then I would take the radical red and do the same at the top and slowly bring it down to the middle. And if there were any deep lines or heavy lines that were put in there, I would immediately grab another napkin, take the alcohol, like a 91% alcohol, put that straight on the napkin and start wiping that on the blue and slowly bringing it to the red, and then taking the red and slowly bringing it to the blue, and then actually bringing it up and down vertical a little bit with the alcohol. And that gradient is just magical. It definitely, you can work it. You can continue to work the colors and deepen them as it goes. And I'm learning that I could put that in certain areas of the disc and then do things around it, which is another cool effect. So it's been a lot of fun. It's definitely been a lot of fun.
Don't see a whole lot of gradients, and the ones that I have seen, I think yours have been the best in my opinion. Just the smoothness of the gradient, the straightness of the gradient, if that makes sense. It's not like wavy, it's actually pretty, linear. And the mix between the gradient was impressive. So nice job on that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's an honor.
And do you mix the dye and the denatured alcohol, then you use the napkin, or do you like have your plain denatured alcohol, then your dye, then your napkin?
So I have them all in glass jars, and I have the lids right by the jars. So I'll continue to use the same napkin and re-dip it and put it on the lids as I go. So I'll just have the two napkins, and then I'll have napkins available for the alcohol, and I'll just soak that quickly. You could have the napkins already soaked with the alcohol, but I tend to just do it as I go right over the sink, How many layers do you do, if any, for the gradient? Well, I do it as I go. So I would say, it could be between 6 to 8 gradients per color as I go. But I'm not waiting or anything. It's not taking time. It's just, you could literally even rinse it under cold water at times once you've taken the alcohol and wiped it on and gotten it smooth. And the water tends to kind of lock it in, and then you could start again and go again. So it's really a quick process. It's probably the quickest process I have, which with disc dyeing, you have to learn patience, which is very, very difficult for me.
So you use no heat, nothing, just room temperature, and it just bing, bang, boom, and you're done.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's awesome. When I first saw the gradients, I felt like the process was similar to hot dipping, where you would dip the disc and you just kind of slowly gradiate it. But that is very insightful knowledge of how you do it, because I never really knew.
I didn't really know how I was going to do it. I used to just use Q-tips and brushes. It was the first time I ever used a napkin and just started rubbing it straight on, but it was actually way better effect. Yeah. So
what made you choose a napkin over, I don't know if you tried anything else like a cotton swab or a makeup remover pad?
I thought about a cotton swab. I thought about a cotton ball, but I just thought it would absorb too much of the denatured and the dye, and I felt like the napkin would hold more of a density of the dye to the tips, so I'd get more on the disc, and I'd get quicker effect from it.
Do you have a specific brand of napkin so everybody can go and buy them?
Nah, I guess it's whatever's in the kitchen, or if I go out to dinner and I get extra napkins, so that goes in the pile.
Nice. What is your favorite plastic to dye?
A little plug to the website that I have is MVP. I'm a wholesaler, and I think their Neutron plastic is pretty sick. Their fission plastic is pretty close. I love both. I love the effects you get from them. That was probably one of my first gradients that you saw. Was on a wave, and it was it was the radical red to the purple. The Caribbean blue and the radical red create a great purple. So that's the middle color I got, but I didn't use a purple. It's just those two colors. I was able to create a great purple. So probably the MVP is the best plastic. I like Prodigy. I'm also a wholesaler for Prodigy. The 500 plastic is pretty sick. And then for dynamic, I love their fission plastic as well as their opto ice is really sick. So that's probably the 3 plastics I like the best.
Do you typically keep the stamp or do you wipe the stamp?
Another plug to the website. I have blanks available if you don't want to wipe a stamp, but it depends. I think some of the MVPs look pretty cool with the stamp. Some people like the stamp on it. So it really depends on the stamp, and it depends on what custom I'm doing, because I tend to do a lot of stenciling, so I tend to have to wipe the stamp and go from there.
What got you into stenciling?
So when I first somebody told me I have to join the Facebook Dyers group, which was probably the best thing I ever did in my life. What I've learned in that group, the people I've met, has been amazing. And so I posted my first set of dyes that I did, which were Vibrams. They were just Floetrol. I was blowing it around. Pretty cool designs. Now that I look back, I'm like, wow, I need to get back to some of that stuff. And I actually did, on one of my gradients, I did a polka dot around the border, and it was just a basic dropping Floetrol and polka dots and, not letting it expand, not wiping it, and just doing the design how I wanted it to sit on the disc. So I posted a bunch of fresh stuff, and my buddy, who's a real good buddy of mine now, who I didn't even know from Mike's Spike's disc dyeing, he posted a comment on my discs, and he said he really liked what I did, but wait till I do something like this. And he posted one of his discs, and it was a spaceship with the beaming up, which I'm sure that stencil, and some killer dye, cell dyes behind it, which I didn't even know what cell dyes were at that time. And I said, whoa, what's that? I said, I got to learn how to do that. I said, that could change the whole world, So I said, a PM coming. So I private messaged him, and he said, hey, buy this, buy Cricut. He goes, download this program, which was Silhouette and like a SVG converter. And basically I did all that. He's like, then message me once you do all that. So instead of my stubbornness, instead of me messaging him, I said, I'm going to buy all this. I'm going to learn it on my own. So I proceeded to put vinyl in upside down, cut it totally backwards. Couldn't take an image, any image, and cut it. I could only take the free image that Cricut allowed, which was so lame. So finally, through my stubbornness, I did learn how to put the actual vinyl correct into the machine by myself. I did learn how I tried to adhere my first to a disc and didn't know anything about centering, didn't know anything about masking. So it was a complete mess. And finally I hit him up and I messaged him. I said, okay, I got the stuff. I said, I tried, but I couldn't do anything. And he walked me through my first stencil. And from that point on, I would send him stuff and he'd be like, have you not learned how to center yet? And then, I had to learn how to center. And so I learned how to center it. And then from there on, I would send him and he'd be like, in a month, he was like, oh my God, I can't believe what you're doing right now. So it's just, again, so awesome. The community, the way people help each other, which I've turned into that guy. I've always helped people and tried to be that guy that will teach. But again, it's your own style and what you bring to it,
I believe that there is so many interpretations of how you could use things. Yeah, there's certain techniques that are open that everybody knows how to use, but people can use them differently to get different results. And I love the community, like your story there of someone willing to go out of their way to teach you how to do something. And that's fantastic. And that's what this Dyers Guild is about, is trying to bring the community together and help spread that knowledge even more than it already is. To the stencils, a few questions on that. Now that you have some experience with that, do you weed the stencil on the disc or before you put it on?
I'm a weeder on the disc. I do it all on the disc. I feel like part of the weed, I put my music on, you know, which is very important for weeding. Otherwise, I'd go crazy. But I believe that part of the weed process is also part of the adhering the vinyl to the disc as firm as possible and creating as little bleeding as possible. So it's part of my technique. I use a dental pick, which is something I'm familiar with. I used to fix cell phones, so I had small little cables. So I used to use a dental pick all the time. So it's something my hands just are very comfortable with. And I'm completely, you know, pressing down the vinyl as firm as where it needs to stick on the disc, and then pulling off where I need to with the dental tool. So definitely on the disc.
Was there any aha moment or a major tip and trick that changed your game for stencils?
Definitely. The biggest trick that happened was when I first started, I hot dipped and I put I was so excited that I rushed as soon as I finished hot dipping, and I went to clean it off, and it was such a mistake. I used warm water. I got, you know, it bled the black bled all over the disc. I tried scraping it, so I proceeded to scratch it like crazy, which I'm sure so many people have done. So my trick now is first controlling the heat properly. Because if you get it way too hot, you can create the vinyl to, you know, shrink and bleed like mad, which can get a cool fuzz effect. I did a Spider-Man for a buddy, and it looked like Venom Spider-Man when it was done. But basically, control the heat is my first tip. Is like make sure you keep it. I heat it to a certain level, then I turn the burner off, then I drop the disc in. And I time it for like 20, 25 minutes. And then as soon as I'm done and I pull it, I look to make sure that the black or whatever color I'm hot dipping is actually covering the areas that need to cover. Because sometimes some discs, you know, are stubborn, or you might have not cleaned it well. So make sure, obviously, clean it before you hot dip because of waxes that the factory might have on there and stuff. But as soon as you pull it off and you're satisfied with the amount of dye that's soaked in, I put it right on upside down on a paper plate, paper towel, and I stick it right in the freezer. And I actually freeze it for about a half hour. And, I think it really takes the dye, and it causes like a shock factor. And I think the blacks really become black. So I use Dark Dungeon, and everybody's like, oh, it's purple, it's not really black. All my blacks look black, and I think it has to do with I'm making sure it's saturated properly, and then I'm sticking it right in the freezer. And then once I'm done with the freezer, I bring it over to the sink, cold water, and I pull the vinyl off, and it comes off clean, and the cleaning is minimal. The adhesive seems to come off with it. It's very little cleaning, so great trick I've learned. That might have been Mike as well from Spike's Disc Dyeing. So thank you, Mike. But it was a true blessing from there on. You know, that's my technique.
I think I heard of the freezer technique before, and I was like, really? I should really try that now.
You got to make sure you have room in the freezer.
Yeah, well, you don't need food.
Now that you disc dye.
What vinyl do you use currently?
I was probably watching a Bobby video, and I think it was something off Amazon. So I don't use Oracle 651 like everybody. It's like Ortego or something. It's straight off Amazon. They're 12 by 12 sheets. I use a 12 by 12 sheet, so I wrap the whole disc. I always center it in the middle and then wrap the whole disc. So I make sure little goes on the backside. If I'm going to do any back work, it's going to be hopefully intentional, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, it's annoying when you're hot dipping and you have those little creases on the side, and that dye just likes to stay there, and you thought you rinsed it off, but you didn't, and you touch the bottom rim of the disc and you're like, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You got to spin it.
Yeah. Spin everything to make
it
look
nice. Or now rub
nice.
gradient on it, because that's another thing you can do.
Absolutely. how complicated have you gotten with your stencils? I ask that because I've tried a bunch of different vinyl, and I feel like different vinyl acts differently with like very high detailed stencils. Like some vinyl doesn't like to hold on to its backing paper, and I'm just curious how detailed you get with your stencils and if you had any issues with that.
I find that my knife has to be new if I'm doing a real technical stencil. My latest one was a local disc golfer, Christina. She asked for a jellyfish, and of course I can't just do a jellyfish. I have to do 2 jellyfish, a hidden fish, coral, sea life. So it's so it turned into this hours and hours of 3D paint, outlining lines, making sure all the stencils, the cut lines would be strong. Also taking 2 different images I found that I thought would be cool, putting them together as one image, which I've never done before. So it was very, very technical, but a lot of the work was done prior to the cutting. And then once I cut it, so then once I knew my cut lines were going to be good, then I sent it to the machine, but I really needed to make sure that I was using a sharp knife. So I took a brand new cut knife and I put it in the machine, and I've done 2 of them since, and I have another custom that somebody sent me, a caster plast that I got to do it on. It's on the list. It's going to be made soon, I promise. But it's very, very detailed, and I love it. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding, and to stay fresh is a big thing. It's tough in this business, but I love trying to do it.
It is. Curious, what Cricut machine do you have, and is there any specific settings that you use to cut your vinyl?
I use the Maker, the Cricut Maker, and I tend to use the stencil vinyl setting instead of just the straight vinyl setting. If it's a less difficult stencil, I'll just use the vinyl, the one that comes as the vinyl setting. For your hot dipping, do you hot dip other colors? Obviously black, but do you use other colors as well? Yeah, I've done like a purple, like a pansy, which came out really cool. It was like a dinner plate one that I think you commented on. You were like, I thought it was a dinner plate. It actually came out pretty cool. And then I did some green for a shamrock, custom, a couple shamrocks. I did some cool green where I added like meadow fern and lime with a little lemon zest. So it came out pretty cool.
It sounds like you're cooking something.
Yeah, it's being a pro chem wholesaler, I get to dabble in a lot of colors, and there are a lot out there, and they're all great. It's a lot of fun. So I like creating colors more than just using the standard colors that come.
Do you have a favorite custom mixture that you like to mix for a color?
No, it depends on the custom. So a lot of times, like somebody might do a college, like where I need to match a gold or I need to match a green. So it's the challenge that I love, and just trying to actually mix it, like put it in a cup and be a little bit of a scientist and see what I could come up with.
When you hot dip, do you have your mixtures already made, or do you mix it on the spot? And second part to that question, what container do you use to actually house the hot dip, and how do you actually do that?
This is horrible. A lot of times I have a pot on the stove. It's got a lid on it, and it's in there. And I just add water, add more Dark Dungeon, add water, add more Dark Dungeon. When I store it in a glass jar. So I have glass jars under the sink that have the pansy, have the green, I think I've done blue as well, which has been cool. It was like a bright blue, which I did a border, and my buddy's baby, I did a set of his baby. He was just learning how to play, so I did a starter set for him, and they were three different colors. So one was blue. So yeah, I store it all under with a glass jar.
Well, don't feel bad that you put it on the stove because, I mean, I keep mine in a pan with a lid, but I just have a portable heating element. But I feel like if someone comes over to the cook, they got to be careful of what they use.
Yeah, I figure if I leave it in there, it will never be used, so it's safe.
And speaking of where you dye stuff, where do you dye stuff?
Well, that's the problem is I'm here. It's in my kitchen. My upstairs is my new business, the website. So I have so many discs up there and inventory up there, dyes up there. So where I would be usually doing this in the office is no longer the office. So I do everything in the kitchen, which I have a white sink, which is horrible. If you're going to start dyeing, have a stainless steel sink, please.
Or utility sink, something that's not important.
Exactly. And then my kitchen table is fully destroyed, but luckily I have laminate floor. So, there are spots here and there, but I do take some acetone and try to remove as much as possible.
Are you renting an apartment or do you own it?
I own it, so I can pretty much do what I want.
Okay, then it's not so bad. Yeah. Send it, whatever.
Exactly.
Have you had any major accidents yet?
That will be probably part of my failure question if you're going to ask that. So maybe we'll wait for that.
Well, since you brought it up, what is some dye fail stories that you would like to share?
Well, shout out to my boys out in Seattle, Emerald City Discs. They were opening their store out there, which if you're in the area, go check them out. They're awesome, Brian. And he also owns Bok Squad, which is a disc golf team, which is awesome. So I was making customs for his new store opening up, and I created the logo. I did some graffiti work, Emerald City. I put the space needle in there, a disc basket. I did all this great work. I did cell work with these great emerald colors. Like I mixed these colors that just came out crazy incredible. And on some group, maybe it was the Dyers group, I saw somebody mention these markers they got, and you could add like dye into the markers and use them. So I purchased those, and it was definitely the worst mistake I ever made. I went to just spin the rim, and the disc was complete. It came out probably the best disc I made at that point. I went to spin the rim, and I didn't know I had it on a Lazy Susan, and I put acetone and Dark Dungeon in the marker, and I was spinning the rim, and I didn't know it was fully leaking out and on the bottom of the Lazy Susan, and the whole disc that I made was proceeded to be in Dark Dungeon. And so when I finished spinning, I pulled it up and realized as I was turning it over what happened, and the whole disc was destroyed and ruined. So lesson be told, don't buy gimmick tools. They don't work. And be done with it. Don't spin there was no reason to spin the rim. It was beautiful. I should have just left it as it was.
Well, you learn from your mistakes, and you definitely know not to do that again.
Exactly. Hopefully.
Well, there's always going to be more mistakes, and it's fine. And if you learn from them, that's why they exist.
Yeah. And every disc, I'm a perfectionist, so it's so hard to take this, but every disc, there's mistakes. So yeah, it's going to happen. And you just learn how to take those mistakes and create something out of them, which has been fun too.
Exactly. And you as the artist know what those mistakes are. Almost everybody else will not even notice them.
Yeah, and the ones that you think are your worst dyes, people tend to love. So just put it out there and show people.
For that,
unless it's covered in Dark Dungeon alcohol, and it's
just
destroyed.
Murder the disc out. Whatever,
Yeah.
Send it all black. And speaking of accessories, what is your must-have or favorite dye accessory?
It would probably have to be the maker, the stencil cutter, because that's just really turned my game to a whole nother level, and again kept me fresh and I've picked designs that people tend to love and want recreated, which has helped the business a lot.
Yeah, I love doing stencils because there's just basically infinite possibilities of what you can do. And I've gotten into creating my own artwork that no one else has. So it's unique for that. And there's some other great dyers out there that do stencil work. You do great stencil work, and yeah, it's a great medium.
I appreciate that.
This is a lame question. Do you keep an inventory of discs?
Why? Plug at Dyelicious Discs. Yeah, I have too many. I probably have between, I would like to say 500 to maybe 1,000 up in that room. So I don't count it anymore because it'd be scary. And that's not even my collection, which is hidden in the closet. So luckily I live alone and I don't have to answer to anybody except for my cat, which his room has now been taken, but it is what it is.
Isn't there a saying that you're not supposed to buy the drugs that you're trying to sell?
Yeah, I guess but it is nice because when a customer does want something like a design, I could say, okay, pick a disc, and they get to pick really through a whole array of discs that they really are like, wow, I could put it on that.
What is the weirdest commission that you've done, or interesting commission that you've done?
I guess it'd probably be, I don't know if it's the weirdest, but one of the guys I got to know on the Vibram group asked me to do Prison Mike from The Office. I don't know if you know Prison Mike, but I'm a big Office fan. And that was a little weird, but it was awesome. He sent me the picture and he wanted like Rasta colored rainbows behind it. So I did some pretty cool. I made sure the purple bandana was purple. You know, he looked, it came out really well. And he was very, very happy. So I'd say that was the weirdest, but a lot of fun creating. And
question that I have is, how did you come up with your dye business name?
I just wanted something that was a little quirky that would kind of, you know, people would remember and be like, oh, Dyelicious. Oh, I get it. Dyelicious Discs, you know. And it was something I wanted to provide to people. I always wanted people to be like really wowed when they get their disc and really happy that they purchased from me. And it's usually something custom that they want. So it's like they really get wowed. Yeah, I just figured it would be a good match for the business, you know, and a good logo, something basic and something catchy. Awesome.
Yeah, I like it. What got you into selling discs and dyes?
I thought like it would be great to have a array to pick from for my customers. So I thought like, wow, if I could have just at my hand blanks of Dynamic, blanks of MVP, blanks of Prodigy. Little did I know how difficult it would be to get those kinds of supplies. Not very easy. And I'm very happy with the connections I've gotten through the industry. And I won't take advantage of that. And I will just continue to try to provide dyers great discs, you know.
It is a slightly difficult business to do. I know I have a few wholesale accounts, and it's also a big investment to do that as well.
Exactly.
So kudos for you for doing that and supplying the discs and dyes to the dyers, because
I appreciate that.
It's definitely not easy.
Yeah. So. Thank you. And I know you've gotten from me, and I do appreciate the business. Thank you. And I've bought a dye from you as well, which I still have displayed in my living room, which I love. My baby disc.
That is awesome. Yeah, I've been hoarding my discs. I recently just, because I feel like they're too precious and I don't want to dye them, so I don't dye them. So they're just sitting there. And I was like, well, you know, if someone wants to buy them, they can. So I put them all on my the Dyers Guild website. But I think I have like 110 discs that I've been hoarding. So, yeah.
So yeah, it's easy to do. Every time I buy, like the glitches came in, and I'm like, oh, that glitch is amazing. Got to put that on the side, you know. And I didn't even grab a white glitch for myself. I got some for Mughal Dyes, some for my buddy at Thunder Buddies, who he's creating some great stuff. I don't know if you've seen his stuff with the pumpkin and the watermelon, the Bergs he's been doing. He's been doing some good stuff. So I've handed out the white ones, and I've kept some gems that I just want to throw and play, you know?
Yeah, that'd be hard for me. It's like, mine, you can't have them.
Exactly.
But do you have any tips or tricks that you would like to give other fellow dyers, literally on anything?
I kind of probably gave it for the hot dipping. I think those tips are great. I think patience is key, which I don't have any of. But I've learned in the disc dyeing, I don't tend to use heat as much as everybody else does. With my stenciling, I do lotion, and I want to keep no heat. I want to keep the lotion where it's at. I don't want any liquid pouring out underneath, which I know won't happen if you control the heat properly, but why even deal with that? I'd rather it sit for 24 to 48 hours. I'll do double coats of lotion if I have to. So I would say patience and try to keep it fresh, you know?
Yeah, I would say always experiment. Even if you're comfortable with something, try something new. See how that goes.
Yeah, that's what I keep doing. That's what happened with the gradients. I was like, you know, the Floetrol has been great. The stenciling's great. But hey, let's just try a little of this. And, you know, takes it to a whole lot. Then you get to mix it all together. And that's when it becomes really special.
If you were to start over again for disc dyeing, is there anything that you would do differently now that you know what you know?
I don't know, because I've made a lot of mistakes, but I think that's really important in the game. I think without those mistakes, even though you can reach out to a lot of people and they can teach you a lot of things, you really need to make those mistakes to get better. So I don't think I would do it differently. I mean, I've only been doing it for a year, and this has been crazy. It's been a whirlwind, you know, the people I've died for, and I've got some pros that are talking to me that hopefully it'll work out. And that's been great. I've been doing a lot of local events, which has been awesome. So I can't say I would do much differently, you know.
For only being doing this for a year, you have done a lot and are pretty proficient at it from my eyes. So kudos to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a lot of work behind the scenes, you know.
Yeah, it is. Patience, definitely need that for dyeing, and the selling of everything, because it takes a lot of work to put discs on a website.
Yeah.
You think it'd be easy, but it's not.
You're a web designer, yeah, it was. And I had no experience, so it's not difficult. It was very difficult for me, but I learned and I did it, you know, so that's the New Yorker in me.
Are there any specific dyers that inspired you or that you want to give a shout out to?
One of my best buds, Jay Kennedy. I don't know if you're familiar. You want to do cell dyeing. He's probably the one you want to reach out to. Functional Discs. He's from Oregon. I spent 10 years out there. I was in a band, and my bass player's wife was his daughter's teacher. So we got connected, and he's really a great guy, but his work's unbelievable. So for the cell, you know, I would look at Jay Kennedy. You know, Tim Perkins is another guy who's an awesome dude who's reached out to me. His spinning is unbelievable. Newer guys like Happy Little Accidents. He does some great stuff, some great gradients, and he does some great paintings, you know. You know, just some of the new guys coming up. There's Mughal Dyes, which is awesome. And then some guys on my website, Galactic Disc, Dye Daily, you know, Double Dragons, Thunder Buddies, Ace Fly Dyes. They're all really creating great stuff, you know. I'm sure I forgot somebody. I've got a whole list: Jiffy Pop, Ninja Disc Golf. They've all joined the website, which is great. That's been another great collaboration to get other people's art out there, an easy venue, and give more reason for people to come to the website and check out some killer stuff. So
when you were learning how to disc dye, what were some of the locations or resources that you found or used? YouTube
was the best venue. I've probably watched videos with you, with Bobby. Really people I don't even probably know right now, but I just watched as many videos as possible just to see different techniques, to see different results of these techniques, to see heat, no heat, all that kind of stuff. So I'd say YouTube is probably the best venue I've used.
Is there any specific channel that you really liked?
No, not really. I just search, like I'll say Floetrol, and then the top videos will come up, and I'll just watch like the first 5 videos and see, what this guy's doing, what that guy's doing, or what she's doing, and it's awesome to watch.
You're supposed to say Discs Dyed by Dave.
Oh, well, that one I watch all the time. So hold on, can we reset that question?
Yeah. I need to start posting some more videos on there. I've just been so busy.
But no, I watched your spin video, right? And I've got your spin jig. So.
Yes. Nice.
Disc Dyed by Dave. Best.
Yeah. Shameless plug there. Who's that guy? I don't know. Some random dude.
I felt on the spotlight there. I didn't know what to do there. Sorry.
That's fine. All right. We're going to get to know Ivan on a personal level beyond the die. So I have a few questions here. The first section is your favorite fave. What is your favorite band and or song?
Band would have to be the Grateful Dead, and would be Jerry Garcia. There's probably impossible to name a favorite song because there's just so many that there.
What is your favorite food?
Food, I have a sweet tooth, so if we're talking desserts, I love chocolates. I love ice cream. But then food, being New York, probably Italian. I'm sick of it, but I love Italian food.
Do you have a favorite restaurant that you like to go to?
There's some great restaurants in the city. There's some great Jewish delis that are awesome. Some great Italian delis. So I like Arthur Avenues. That's probably my favorite. And
what is your favorite beverage that you like to wash all that food down with?
I now try to strictly drink water, but I used to love Pure Leaf Raspberry iced tea. I was hooked, and I'm 30 pounds lighter thanks to not drinking it anymore. So probably because of disc golf too, but yeah. It is
amazing how much calories are in a drink that you don't realize. And when you stop drinking it, you're like, holy cows.
Yeah, a lot of sugar.
The exercise with the disc golf does help a lot as well. So that's another reason why I like disc golf, is to get out in nature and the physical exercise where it doesn't seem like exercise.
Yeah, exactly. It's I live near Beacon, and we have Mount Beacon, and so our course is a 22-hole course that goes up and down the mountain. So it's a great workout. Great elevation changes, so a lot of fun up and down.
Speaking of courses, what is your favorite course and or hole?
I guess I got to shout out Beacon Glades, and even though I love Wilcox, which is only probably about 40 minutes from here, 45 minutes, they have 36 holes, they have beach holes, they held a great 250 player tournament. That's where I met a lot of the pros that I'm talking to, that it was a great event. I tell every dyer, do local events. It's the way to get out there. It's the way to get your name out there, and people love seeing it. They'll definitely spend time and talk to you. Beacon, hole 10. It's a short 175-foot hole. You're sitting atop, and it's elevated down, and it's an island green. So we have rocks that are around the green. I've seen people hit the basket and it go out of bounds deep. So you could go short and not make it. And then I've hit the band twice. I've seen hole-in-ones there that are amazing. One skip off on ice and go in. Shout out to Chris Yake. So it's a fun hole. It's always exciting. Even newbies can give a go at it. So that's probably my favorite hole and my favorite course.
Do you get to a lot of local tournaments and or leagues specific to like vend at them?
Yeah, that's been new for me. And it's been, like I said, it's been awesome. Once I did one, more people have asked me to come back and do others. Being in New York, I got to meet Bill Newman, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with who Bill Newman is, but he's a big part of the PDGA, the environmental team, as well as Throw Pink. He's a big founder of Throw Pink. And Dan Doyle, who's a big architect here and has created a lot of courses around this area. So met them too, gotten to be invited to some stuff they're running, as well as the local clubs, Wedge, which is a Westchester club, which runs events all through the winter. So I'm booked all the way through January. So I've got Halloween, I've got Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So I'm pretty excited for all those events. And each event now, I've got a tent, I've got tables, I've got everything to be set up, all the bins, and like people that I've made customs for let me borrow them back so I could set them as a display for people to see. And it works out to be a great experience and a lot of fun. Yeah. Definitely a lot.
Sounds like you are a very busy man. Yeah. And a question I have is, are there any tips or tricks that you would give to dyers if they do want to vend at some of these events?
Like I'm still thinking about bringing more dyed supply there, but I wouldn't go crazy dyeing like a bunch there. I would pick your best dyes and put them as a display. Get a list of people and have them pay you at the event for a custom, and then create a list and get those customs rolling. So a lot of events I'll get 8 to 15 customs per event, which is something that I know it's money in the bank. I know it's already done. I'm not going to do extra work that I'm not going to get paid for and have extra inventory sitting around. So I would say, think of it that way. Make sure you have a full display of your work, what you can do. Have business cards. I do stickers, bracelets. I hand those out. I show off my Instagram account. My work that's not there, and be communicate. Just be friendly. Talk to the people. They're like you. They're all disc golfers. And some want to disc dye, so some want to learn. And you meet other disc dyers as well. Some come up to me and like, hey, I disc dye. And then they start showing me their dyes. And I'm like, dude, that's killer, And you get relationships that way. So,
yeah. What would you say to anybody that wants to start vending that has never vended before? How do they get their foot in the door?
I started going to my local clubs. I play dubs. I play doubles, which is a great event. I'm a sponsor guy. I sponsor every event. I put money into the clubs. If you show that you care, people will listen and people will be willing to share with you, and they want to give you the business other than some big name person that, they don't know.
What was your first event that you vended at? I don't know if that's a word.
My first event was Made in the Glades, and it was a mistake because I played in it and I vended in it, which I should have never done. So moving forward, I now vend, I don't play, and it's so much more fun, and it's really cool talking to people. So Made in the Glades, it was at Beacon, and that was where it first started, and then now I'm invited to every event at Beacon. And then, got to know some people from Wedge, and then got my hands in there and moved up north to Wilcox and got to know people that run the course there. So it's really who you know. So I play dubs. I get to know people through dubs. It's a great environment. Being part of a club is a great environment. People are really cool. The guys, the women, awesome, competitive, fun.
Do you dye any discs at the event, or is it all after the fact?
I haven't. So my boy at Galactic, which is on my website, he does that. He spins on site, which sounds so killer. I fear not having electric. So some of these guys out here bring battery packs, bring all different ways to plug the turntable in. I've thought about on the hot days being able to just lay something in a Floetrol and 2 hours later it'll be done. But I have not done any dyeing on site. I've done dyeing where it's like a 2-day event where I've gone home, dyed the disc, and then brought it to the next day for the guy.
Oh,
so
nice.
That I've done, but I've never done dyeing on site.
I feel like that can be a challenge.
It's hard because you don't have a sink, you know. Like I figure, like you need an area to run to just in case of an accident, you know, or you need to clean something up. It's just, to me, a sink is important. Yeah, I guess you could use a bucket, but.
Dream date. If you had to pick one pro disc golfer to play around with and just hang out in general, who would that person be?
So I've thought about this one, and it's been tough because there's so many cool people out there, right? I mean, you got to start with Paul, who's the man, and then, you know, Calvin, who's killer, Drew Gibson's awesome. There's just, and the young guys, right? The young guys are great. But being from New York, I gotta go with the Goose, Aaron Gossage. I grew up watching Goose Gossage, so he means a lot to me, and he was somebody who was amazing as a pitcher, and he threw sidearms just like Aaron. So I think spending the day with Aaron, telling him stories about the Goose, how he meant to me, and actually going to Yankee Stadium, seeing him pitch, it would be kind of fun spending the day with Aaron.
Do you have any other hobbies besides disc golf and disc dyeing?
He used to have a lot of hobbies. It's kind of consumed my life, disc dyeing and disc golf. Because when I'm not dying, I'm playing disc golf. I try to find a little time to work. I work 3 days a week, but we'll put that aside. That might hopefully go away soon. But I play music. I've done basically me and my buddy a duet. He plays some guitar and we both sing and do some cool stuff. So done some good recordings and stuff. But it's been a while really since I've spent time playing with him, which I got to get back to. So I'd say playing music's probably a hobby of mine.
Yeah, don't lose that and make sure you do play, because it's another art form that may inspire you, because I play guitar, bass, and keyboard, and I actually went to college for music recording and technology. So music and music recording has a special place in my heart. Oh,
very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you probably could have helped us out on a lot of those recordings. But my buddy's an editor, so he's pretty good too. So yeah.
What do you currently do for a job and or your past life?
I was doing cell phones for like 20 years. Doing a lot of went up to regional sales, so AKA me blasting crazy on Instagram. You know, I'm always doing sales of some sort for the website. But I also have a marketing background, so I think that the cell phones, I did for crazy, was working like 80 hours a week, and finally just walked away from it all. Wasn't working at all. Then my buddy owns a bunch of optician places, and he's like, come work for me. He's like, you don't have to bring work home with you. Just work, what you want to do. So I said, all right, I'll come back 3 days a week. I'll work. So, cause I was kind of going crazy, not talking to people and just doing my own thing. So it was like, maybe I do need to work. I'm too young to just retire completely. So I went back with him. I've been there for about a year. So I work at Raymond Opticians, and I help people out with their glasses and stuff, which is funny because my eye was messed up for a few months from Lyme's disease. So I had to wear a patch, which I still have to wear for distance. I'm getting glasses, which will correct that. But, people would walk into the eye place and be like, oh, I think I walked into the wrong place. And arg. So.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Have you found that the skills that you learned in your cell phone business translate to your disc dyeing sales?
I think so. I think I get that super excitement of the sale. When somebody starts asking about a custom or asking about discs they want to buy or dyes they want to buy, I get that little excitement that I got in cell phones, I think I think learning how, you know, cell phones really impact people, that it's always in people's hands, that it's a part of their life, knowing, you know, maybe times and holidays of when I should post and when I shouldn't post. So yeah, I think it's helped me quite a deal. But so same with my degree, I had a marketing degree at the University of Oregon, you know, so I learned quite a bit there, marketing and a management degree. So kind of helped me with all those discs upstairs with inventory and stuff. But
yeah, you have to hustle for this, and I definitely do see you hustling all the time. So again, kudos for you on that.
One of these days I gotta take a day off though. One of these days. I don't know when it'll happen, but one of these days.
No rest for the wicked, man.
Yeah, exactly.
If you had to pick 3 discs to play any course for the rest of your life, what would those 3 discs be?
Well, this one's easy. I sometimes just do this. I go out and play with these 3 discs. Probably not many people will know what these discs are, but I play a Vibram Soft Summit as my putter. The thing you can totally fold as a taco. It's amazing. And in this area in the winters, you want a disc to really sit at a basket if you miss it. So I love the Softy Summit. My mid-range would be a Launch, a Vibram Launch, which is another great disc. And then my driver would be a fairway driver, a Vibram Arch. So it would be all 3 Vibrams, all rubber. That's like an 8-speed, and I just love it. It's a great disc. You can do some great stuff with it.
Well, I don't want to call you a hipster, but I feel like that's hipster discs.
All right. I'll be hip. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I've actually never thrown those brand discs before.
Be careful. They're addictive and expensive, very expensive. So I do have another plug to the website. I do have a list of Vibrams for sale. But they are expensive, and they only make now 4 molds. So they came back into the business. They were out of the business for a long time. So a lot of the molds I throw aren't even available. So when you do lose them, it's a very sad day. You hope that they get returned. But yeah, they're a great disc. Awesome.
Where can people find you at if people want to take a look at your work or buy something from you? Yeah,
so DyeliciousDiscs.com. That's got me. Let me read this list so I don't forget anybody. It's got Thunder Buddy. It's got Double Dragons. It's got Spikes Disc Dyeing, Ace Fly Dyes, Doodle Discs, Ninja Discs, Jiffy Pop, Galactic Customs, and Daily Customs. Probably going to be adding more soon. There's definitely been some people reaching out. So you can find me and all those artists' work on my website, as well as my discs, my Pro-Chem company merchandise. I sell KK approved chalk sacks. I've talked about selling your jig on there, which we still got to get on there because I don't have a spin jig on there yet. Maybe we could create a link that just goes right to you and you can deal with it. We can figure that out.
We will figure it out.
You're the web guy. But I sell even minis, like these custom wood minis that are made in Iowa. So it's been, a lot of people reaching out, and I do a lot of collaborating, which is awesome. That's what this industry is about, and I'm going to continue to push that, So find me at DyeliciousDiscs.com.
So go check him out. Check the artist on his website, and really anything that he has for sale on there to help support him and the other artists on there. And so speaking of supporting artists, Ivan is going to be raffling off a dyed disc that he created. So at the launch of this podcast is when that raffle will start. So it will be $1 enters you to win. You can buy as many tickets as you want, but the minimum is $1. It's $1, which is really cheap. So why not do it? And 100% of the proceeds will go to Ivan. So if you want to help a starving artist, please go buy that raffle ticket and, support everybody. So thank you, awesome. Ivan, for being on here. I greatly appreciate your time. And
yeah, it was a complete honor. I really appreciate, getting to know you, Dave, has been awesome. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time, we will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Peace out. Bye.